Hi, it's Pastor Andy, and today, instead of a normal COVID update, this kind of is amongst our COVID updates, but give you a little bit of an idea of what I'm thinking through at this point. Because I mentioned in a previous video that this is more than a pause. This is really a chance to reset. So I want to talk about that for just a moment. But I also want to share, if you want to get some of my other thoughts and thinking. I've been talking the last couple of weeks on my podcast about some things that relate to this and interviewing, and I've got some upcoming interviews that will be talking about this. And that podcast is called Christian Educator Weekly. We'll put that in the notes for this, in the video description of this. I've been working over the last couple of months before COVID. I knew that I needed to take some time, and so for myself, as busy as I've been with various responsibilities. So I'm blogging about looking for to take a Sabbath for myself, to find that time of intentional rest. And that's on my blog, my personal blog, fatani.com/blog. So if you want to just kind of keep up with that, and also on my blog, I just posted yesterday on the 31st, my book reviews, like very short. It's not a full review, just a very short review of the books I read in the first quarter. And today I posted in the reading list the things I'm looking forward to reading in the second quarter. So anyway, that just kind of gives you an idea. I know several of you have commented that you really appreciate these videos on a regular basis, almost daily. And now I'm thinking about just doing them daily. Thursdays, I don't know yet because that's my teaching day for the seminary. So I'll have to figure that out at least for the next 3 or 4 weeks. But anyway, so you're appreciating these, and I'm glad these are helpful. They're helping me to think through my thoughts as well. And we all need that at this particular time. So what I want to do today, though, is I want to talk about what I want to talk about today is the idea of this reset. Okay. Now, most all of us know what the pause button looks like. Most all of us know what the play button looks like, and whether that is true, whether we're watching a video, even VHS, right, or a DVD, Blu-ray, on our phones. These are two buttons that we're very, very familiar with, or a podcast or something like that. And so when we think about what the pause button does, it pauses, right? So, we start, let's say it's a movie, or let's say it's some song or something, and this is the start of it, and it begins to come along, and all of a sudden we need to take a break. The phone rings or whatever happens. Maybe you're watching this video and something happens and you want to take a break. So you hit the pause button, right? No problem. And what happens is that at that point, the content pauses. Okay. Well, then when you're ready to start again, you hit the play button, and what happens? The content continues right along. That's fine. We're used to that. We've done that for decades, if not longer. Now, I guess with records, you couldn't really do that, but you just lifted the needle and put it back. But, the same idea is true. So we pause, it stops, we hit play, it goes on. So what I said, I believe it was in yesterday's video, is that this is different. What we are dealing with COVID-19 is different. And so if this is the church, for Fairfax Baptist Church, for instance, this is 1884. And, we've had some things along where, a fire destroyed some things, and a new building have destroyed some things. And so some of those created some changes. And so we went along and, pause button, fire. Okay, but we move forward and get a new building, 1954, 55, pause button, we change things. That happens. We have a new pastor. All that's fine. This is different. Because in those previous settings, the next week you took an offering and nobody thought about the germs on the offering plate. With the new building, let's have a party. Let's have a dinner. And so everybody went through the line of a potluck dinner. And well, guess what? Are we going to want to touch everybody's spoons? Some people won't care beyond this, but some people for at least a while are going to be very, very conscientious of that. And so there are things that we are doing right now, or let me say it this way. There were things that we did in February because we didn't know what COVID-19 was, that if we would have had to pause church for a moment, we hit the pause button. 2 weeks later, we hit the play button and we just go on. That's not the case anymore. So here's what this is not, though. When we come back, and let's, yesterday I half jokingly said Labor Day, but let's say it is Labor Day, or let's say it's in July, or let's say it's October, whatever. This is what is not going to happen, and we need to prepare for this right now as a church. And I don't just mean Fairfax Baptist Church, I mean the church in general. We've hit the pause button, and most churches aren't meeting and all of that. What's not going to happen is we're going to have this slow decline, and now we hit the play button right here and we move forward. That's one option. Or for some churches, this is going to be a time of opportunity and whatever, and there's a chance for growth. I'll talk more about that in a minute. And it's actually going to kind of lead up to here, and we're going to hit the play button and off we go from here. That's what we would think would be ideal. And if we were to meet in mid-April, this might be possible. But the likelihood is we're not meeting until at least mid-May. And for every day that goes by, this pause button is more hard-coded into our life. Okay? And the more hard-coded that is into our life, what is going to happen is this. Instead of pause, there is a reset button. And so we have to hit stop, and we have to go back to the beginning, and we hit play again. So what it's going to look like is more like this. We've hit the pause button, and we are going to just start again on a completely different area, in a completely different plane. Now, that doesn't mean we're not going to sing. That doesn't mean we're not going to have fellowship. And that doesn't mean we shouldn't have discipleship. And that doesn't mean we're not going to preach. All of that is going to be the same, but how is it going to be the same? Okay. On the flip side, again, some churches will respond to this well. And so they're going to have a different plane, and they're going to be up here. The longer we are in pause, the more likely this is to come. Again, if we are to meet, I'm recording this on April 1st. This is not an April Fool's joke. This is real. Okay. So the longer that this delay happens over time, then the more likely this is, and the more distinct this is going to be. Again, the concepts of church, the 5 functions that we deal with, discipleship and fellowship and worship and ministry and evangelism, those things are all the same, but how we do those are going to change. So one of the things I mentioned in a recent video, again, I think it was yesterday, is that we need to determine what this is going to mean for our church. Okay, but my responsibility as pastor is to help our church with this. As a professor at the seminary and my role as chairman of pastor training community, I'm trying to help students largely in America on the one hand, and pastors and leaders around the world on the other hand, to kind of begin to think through some of these things as well. But the idea is, how do we respond to this? So what we are going to do, and I haven't fleshed all this out in my mind, not this Sunday night, which would be April 5th, not next Sunday night, which would be Resurrection Sunday, the eve of Resurrection Sunday, but the following Sunday, April 19th, we're going to start a Zoom call. And if you don't know how to use Zoom, contact me. We'll get you going. And we're going to have some discussions on our Sunday evening. Since we're not able to meet on Sunday evening and continue the Bible study that we've been doing, we're going to have some different kind of discussions. We're going to have some long-term discussions. And we started some of these last August when we had our renewal. But now we're not talking about renewal. We are in one way, but we're talking about reset and renewal. So we may need to put some new systems in place. We may need to have some new processes in place. So here's a couple of things that we need to do as Fairfax Baptist Church. Number one, whatever you do in service for the church, I need you to write that down. So if you're like my wife, she does the Sunday school stuff. She passes out curriculum. I need her to write that down. I need her to write down what she does and a little bit of why. Okay. And if you're a deacon, what do you do? If you're a Sunday school teacher, what do you do? And not every bit of detail, but like do you call your people during the week? Do you, what goes into preparing a lesson? Not all of your details, but just some thoughts. These are some things that I do. If you're the financial secretary, if you're the treasurer, me as pastor, what are the things that we do on a regular basis? How do we do that? That's number one. I need you to write that down. We need to get all of that together so that we have updated documents on all of that. One of the things I'm going to be doing during this time is putting together team descriptions. Okay. And what that means is so what do the deacons do in general? And I'll take some of those individual thoughts and wrap that up. What does the finance team do? And how does that fit the concept of our church? Okay. So all of that is going to be important. We need to get policies and procedures updated because can I just be real for a minute? There are churches all over America that when they met for the last time, maybe on March 8th, maybe on March 15th, maybe on March 22nd, and that covers almost every church in America and many around the world. There are churches that people who were happy and healthy were there that day and are not going to be there the next time that church opens the door. That's going to include leaders. That's going to include pastors. Again, I'm not trying to be a downer. I'm a realist, okay? I'm here to provide some hope and optimism because as a church, I don't want this. If this is a decline, I don't want this. I want to be here. So this is our opportunity to respond to this. But the reality is there's going to be some people who are not there anymore. Maybe it's because of illness. Maybe it's because of death. Okay. So that's true of some churches. It could be true of ours. Okay. So in your mind right now, the first thing you're thinking of is that me. I can't, that's not for me to know. Okay. No, I don't mean me as a pastor. I mean you as you, whoever's watching this. Okay. But what if it is Andy Braams? What if it is one of our other leaders? Think through some of the leadership in our church. How does our church go on? What do we do? So we need these documents. So don't just say, that's a good idea. I need you to do it. If whatever position of service that you have in the church, I need you to write these things down so that we can document it and tweak it so that it's all in a nice standardized form that we can update our policies, procedures, and ministry descriptions, job descriptions, if you will, for all this kind of stuff. So we're going to be talking about some of this on our Sunday nights going forward. Okay. I will be leading that. We'll do it through a Zoom call. We'll start at 6 like we normally have our Bible study on Sunday nights. Probably go till about 7. I might give you more homework, okay, because we only have an hour of time or thereabouts. Let's maximize our time. But please, please take care of yourself. Please take care of what you need to do. If you need some assistance, if you need groceries or whatever, call Susan and I. As long as we can still get out and go to the grocery store, if you need something, let us know. We'll get it to you. Okay. But we need to do this for the church because we're about to have to hit reset in a major way. And what, the fear is what will church be like? I can't answer that question right now. What I can answer is that the longer this goes, the more hard this reset is going to be encoded into the fabric of us, which means into the fabric of the church. And so we need to do something differently so that we respond well and move forward rather than decline or death. Okay. So again, what do you do? How do you go about doing it on a regular basis? How often do you need to do it? You don't have to make it nice and format. That's my wife helps with a lot of formatting because this is what my writing looks like. And you see what the output comes from her. So again, my goal is going to be to train leaders because what if some of our key leaders are no longer a part of our church? How do we move forward? We have to have new leadership going forward. And I need to replace myself in a sense as well. That's the fifth L that we rarely talk about, the leave, because one day we all leave. Jesus left, and yet the ministry continued even greater because they were in different places than it was when he was there. So I know this has been a little bit of a longer video. They won't always be this long, but this is important. And if you take nothing else from this, realize this is going to be the new reality. And you can get some more of my thoughts on ChristianEducatorWeekly.com. On the web, just click on the podcast link on that. Again, some of my personal thoughts about how I'm working through the blog and specifically how my vision and my mission and my strategy fit the concept of taking Sabbath. And I'm learning that even as I speak right now. So I hope you all are well. I know we're in this new, shelter in place for Atchison County, strongly suggested, if not mandated. So let's take that seriously. But as we take that seriously, let's make sure that we are doing the work that we can while we have this extra time. Some of us don't have extra time. Some of us have some more extra time, or maybe we can carve time by cutting out or watching movies or Netflix or Disney Plus or whatever. Okay. Let's take that extra time to make sure that we as a church are prepared to go forward. Okay. God bless. And I will continue to update you in weeks to come.